Our guest speaker for today is Mark. Mark is a marketing director for digital customer experience EMEA at Oracle. As he states on his LinkedIn profile, he creates digital dreams and makes them real. Very into customer experience, digital transformation. We've had the pleasure of working a lot together already, hosting workshops on these topics, doing presentations. So it's my honor that we now have him on this webinar to share his insights with us today. So at least stay tuned for the coming 45 minutes or so. Take some relevant notes. The presentation deck is already available on your right-hand side under handouts, but it will always also be shared afterwards with you, as well as the recording will be made available. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to submit them in the question box or in the chat box. We have some polls coming up, so would appreciate if you participate in those as well. And of course, join the other webinars in this series if you like them and want to get some further inspiration from it. So for now, just sit back and get inspired with what we have to tell you today. This webinar series is brought to you by Engagement Factory, and without spending too much time on it, we've been around for a couple of years now. Started in the marketing automation domain, expanded into customer experience, and currently have 60 employees across 4 and soon to be 5 offices, spanning from Stockholm via the Benelux, UK, France, Dubai, all the way down to South Africa, and have a lot of experience in our hands on working on how to improve your marketing approach, and with that, how to better drive customer experiences. And what we see on a day-to-day basis is that our clients are running into similar issues where because we see those siloed systems, processes, people, and data that are not really helping you, even in this digital era, or maybe sometimes because of this digital era, to provide the best possible customer experience. I think there's only the main thing that we're aiming for is to be able to deliver the right message to the right person at the right time via the right channel, because that's the way that we're going to drive engagement. And that's literally what we're going to be talking about today. So starting off with a poll, I'm interested to see what your ideas are, if your organization is capable of responding to changing customer needs and expectations. So let me just share with you that poll, and if you can do me a favor and give us your response, then we'll just have a look at what you think currently is happening. So how well is your organization capable of responding to changing customer needs and expectations? So you see the results dropping in. It's going to allow you a bit more time. Okay, some final votes before we're going to close down. That's an interesting one. So apparently the crowd that we have on the line today, 75% of you thinks their organization is well capable of responding to those changing customer needs and expectations. And only 25% thinks they're not. So I'm definitely interested to see what Mark will be sharing on that one, because I know he has some interesting thoughts on that as well. So Mark, I'm going to hand over to you, and you can take it from here.
All right. Do you hear me? Did I have to unmute myself? So am I loud and clear here?
It'll work.
Cool. And again, thanks for having me. Very interesting to deliver this webcast for you today around digital customer experience. That's true, and an interesting number, to be honest. In about a slide or 3 or 4, I will give you the number that we come up with in the research that we did. So the 75% is not really what we found out. So that's interesting to see today. Again, yeah, so digital CX and how you get the most out of it today. So what I want to do with you is cover some key trends, not basically trends, but also how I see CX evolving in 2018 and beginning of 2019, so next coming year, but also what you can do to change, to improve, to get on there. So I'm not able to change it. I think you have to change my
No problem. I will.
my slides. Yeah, right. You can click this through to the end if you want. I will share you. I mean, the term customer experience is here at the moment. So yeah, that's it. So the customer experience. I mean, the worst thing you can do in a presentation is start with a definition. So let me just do that then. So customer experience, just to make things clear, for me, it's more than your single interaction on a channel, right? So sometimes you say, well, a customer experience defines is a customer, point one, when he's delivering or interacting with a service channel, for example. For me, it's more. And on one hand, you have kind of the organization point of view. So organization wants results, right? And those results are delivered by behaviors. So buying stuff, clicking on stuff, and so on. So behavior from a customer. But on the other hand, you have kind of the needs from a customer and their attitudes, their emotions, their feelings. And yes, those attitudes will drive behavior. So there's a difference normally. The behaviors with a company kind of influence those attitudes, right? Every time you interact with a company, there is an experience which will change your attitude, will drive your next behavior. But there's one thing I want to point out here. That's the thing in the middle, called expectations. Every time you interact with a company, your expectation will change for the next coming interaction. And there is something interesting. Those expectations, I call it, are cross-industry. So what you experience in one industry, finance, for example, doing a payment via an app, is what you take with you in another industry. So your expectations in travel or leisure are driven by the expectation and experiences you engage with in during finance, for example. So there is a cross-industry expectation, and that's very interesting at the moment because some industries are much farther than the other ones. So for me, customer experience is the total kind of the combination of being a customer, post-customer, pre-customer, so being a prospect, and every interaction you have kind of combined, and that will deliver your expectations and your experiences. Cool, let's take the next one. And interesting, you could, yeah, Grant. Interesting enough, I think a lot of things happens, right? I mean, we live in a crazy world. I think it's fantastic. I'm not quite sure if you know this example. This is a Carbon with Adidas. It's a combination of two companies, and this for me is an example of a really personalized experience. So what you see there in the sole is a 3D printing, and the 3D printing is based on the data points of a lot of customers, on one customer. So it takes your stuff and your data from the Adidas app. It will take your information, will provide, so your age, your weight, and that kind of stuff, and then it will provide you the best sole solely for you. And that's at least, I mean, that's perfect customer experience, right? But also, imagine what it looks like for supply chain for Adidas. So everyone, one back. For Adidas, it's a lot of supply chain there. Because it's not a set of shoes delivered to a partner or to a store, but it's one shoe from Mark de Groot and sending to me. Another one for supply chain, that's the next one, is very interesting what happens around the autonomous fleets, for example. I'm not sure if you know this one. It's from Daimler, and Daimler has, it's the autonomous fleet, so there's no person or employee inside of the trucks, and they ride themselves, and they understand the distance. So for me, the supply chain in combination with customer experience, and for me, supply chain is customer experience, is the other kind of line of business that they massively transformed thanks to all the emerging technologies. Think about sensor data, think about IoT, and so on. And again, it's CX related. Another example on the next slide is, it's kind of how you change the interaction and how to add the human interface and how to really create a fantastic and delightful customer experience. And remember, kind of chatbots with artificial intelligence, with speech recognition, that kind of stuff. So the way emerging technologies help in really changing the way you interact with a company is phenomenal. And the other one, what I really like, it's the next example. It's how far we can go. I'm not quite sure if you know those. I hope so. So on the left-hand side, you see the Boston Dynamics robot who can do a backflip and actually kind of lands on his feet. It was kind of going viral a few weeks ago. And the lady on the right-hand side is called Sophia, and that's a robot that has speech recognition, facial expressions, and you can really interact with her. I'm not quite sure if you know, but Sophia is the first robot citizen and of the state of Saudi Arabia. So a lot of things going on, right? But let's link it specifically to CX. What you see on CX is that companies are kind of focusing a lot on the digital customer. The digital customer, which is digital savvy, has high expectations, and the experience are very important. And digital customer expects a hyper personalization, so a real customized interaction for him or her. And what I really like about this digital customer is I call it the ownership of access. So for example, I own a car, a lease car, and I'm quite proud of it. And my boy, he's 12 years old. He looks at me and says, "Pop, Daddy, you're getting old-fashioned. You don't own a car." And seriously, he's almost 12. He used the term mobility on demand. And I said, "Well, come on, go play with your Lego." And he said, "Mobility on demand. I don't want to own a car later. I just want to grab it when I need it." And that's a digital customer. But the thing is here, I think a lot of companies make a mistake at the moment. There needs to be a shift in the way you run and operate your enterprise. So the focus on digital enterprise, let me come back to that later on in my presentation, is very needed. So the change of your operating models, the real change in doing digital business, and to really engage with your, I call it digital IQ, right? So the skills and talent internally. Think about retail, for example. A lot of personnel in retail really kind of has to change, and it's more the old-fashioned personnel, and we need to have more digital savvy colleagues. But also, for example, the digital metrics. In the past, was it more for acquisition, transaction? I think it will go to more like delight and retention, for example. So again, yes, focus on digital customers, but also focus on the digital enterprise. Next slide, please. So let's link to the future of CX. I want to share you my vision. So my 6 kind of trends or topics which I think are really important. Let's start with the first one. And the first one is I call it extreme analytics. And yes, we know everything about machine learning and artificial intelligence, of course, but I think that's just a start. For me, extreme analytics is really use more data, more intelligent data to really drive that highly that highly customized personal experience. What you have to think about here is, for example, the natural language processing, and that kind of running in the background. For me, the extreme analytics is kind of how you translate and interpret it and understand really what people want and need. So it's take a deep dive in data instead of only, between brackets, the machine learning and artificial intelligence. But also adding GPS data, geo-targeting, Internet of Things, and that kind of stuff. So how you combine everything is really, for me, the extremeness of extreme analytics. One thing I added here is the human touch. For me, the human touch is part of the experience. So no, I do not believe in a solely digital way of communicating. For me, digital, offline and online is kind of the combination. So extreme analytics, put everything in there, and then add the human touch. The second one that I kind of see is maybe a strange one, I don't know, but where I call it CX needs EX. So customer experience needs employee experience. I saw an interesting report from Forrester a few weeks ago, to be honest, and they were talking about the 3 main challenges for delivering a great customer experience. So the 3 main challenges for companies to excel in that. And they were organizational culture, organizational structure, and internal processes. So 3 internal oriented kind of challenges that block delivering a great customer experience. So for me, the focus on employees, on delivering them, make sure they are empowered to deliver the great experience is a great one. And to be honest, I think a lot of companies really underestimate this. This is one of the elements we need to really crack to be fully customer centered. We need to have our employees connected there. The third one is blockchain. Again, I mean, a deep dive in blockchain will require kind of a separate webcast, I guess. But at the moment, what you see on blockchain, it's kind of accepted, more or less. I mean, people still don't really understand what it does, I guess, but it's getting there. The basis of blockchain is kind of trust, transparency, and I think, to be honest, that the basis of CX is also trust and transparency. So you see blockchain in retail, for example, or in finance, with payments and with supply chain. I think there are fundamental benefits of blockchain that can really make a difference in customer experience. So it's not there yet. I believe that in about 6 or 7 months, in CX sphere, you see lots more blockchain initiatives or pilots than now at the moment. The fourth one that I see is very interesting and a big topic for the next coming 12 months is, I call it the rise of proactive CX. Proactive CX links directly to Internet of Things. So I mean, the best customer experience you deliver when you least expect it, more or less. So you don't expect it, so you overachieve more or less, and you're there. And in service sphere, in certain atmosphere, is I think it's fantastic and great. And at the moment, what you see, for example, with IoT, what you see is that you can really kind of read the uses of devices or something you bought. You can see if it's damaged or broken or almost broken. So you can really use the data from Internet of Things and use it in your proactive service. The only thing is, I think that will rise customer expectations even more. And again, I believe in that those customer expectations are cross-industry. So if one industry is really doing great stuff here, the other industry will suffer or benefit, well, whatever comes first. And you will also see this in B2B environment. So for example, Rolls-Royce, they deliver engines for airplanes. They don't sell the engines anymore. They sell kind of every hour that the engines are running. So how you get the most out of your engine at the moment as Rolls-Royce, it's not you sell it and you think, well, here it is. And to be honest, the strange thing is when you sell a big product, I mean, for an engine, you 30 years, you're out of the market. So how can you make sure that you get more out of it? If you do product as a service, what you see is you see that how the engine is running. You see if it's almost broken. You can get maintenance on the right time and not when the engine is really broken and the airplane is on the ground. So you see a lot of possibilities here in adding IoT to your service environment. The fourth one is my big love, I guess. I'm a big believer in that. With all the technology that we have at the moment, we need to go a layer deeper. And let me explain. I think CX normally is around customer satisfaction. And I'm not a big believer in that anymore. Customer satisfaction is not a differentiator. So what I think is, with all the data and all the technology like IoT, like artificial intelligence, you have to get deeper. And deeper, with deeper I mean, you have to understand kind of the why of behavior. So not the behavior on such, but really why are people doing things and what's happening at the moment. And of course, your data is key here. You need to make sure that you have all the data in your kind of control. But then again, reading the emotions, the feelings, and the attitude of a customer really makes a difference. Customer satisfaction will not be enough. It's about understanding the why of that behavior. All right, and the last one is, I call it kill the fragmentation. At the moment, what we see from Oracle perspective, at least, is I mean, normally what you have is a lot of departments, a lot of data. It's kind of all over the place, a lot of touch points. And I mean, if you understand that, if you know that a company at least 9 touch points, they're in their control. What you need to understand is that everything is fragmented at the moment. So how you can be able to move to a more emotional CX, how you are able to use extreme analytics. You're not. I mean, the data is fragmented. The people and the employees and departments all over the place. So what you see there is a move to more centralized steering, let's call it like that. And centralized, I mean, like a more platform way of thinking. And for me, a platform, I hear it all the time, is not a product or something. It's not that you just buy a platform and you're there. It's a way of thinking. It's the way how you combine the elements, combine the touch points, combine the data. So what I see happening at the moment is really move to more customer experience platform way of thinking instead of several departments that are all doing their own thing. But that's an interesting one and a very important one, because again, if you have the data, you have the knowledge, you have the people, but you don't have the combination of well, not called application, but more interactions and touch point with your customer, you're screwed more or less. So again, these are kind of my 6 trends driven by technology, but linked to CX. Again, how to use extreme analytics. It's around the link with employees. It's around link with blockchain. Make sure you do it proactive instead of reactive, but link to emotion instead of only the satisfaction, but combine people, data, and applications. Next, please. Cool. Shall I? Yeah, well, I will do it. Yeah, well, I mean, one question that I have more or less is, if you look at artificial intelligence and the use of data there, we've done a research around how many companies will have artificial intelligence fully embedded in their customer experience processes. And I'm really curious how it's with your organization. Okay. Wow. All right. So it's kind of 50-50. No, we won't 57. In our research, and what mid-sized companies and enterprise companies, 90%, 90%, believes that they have artificial intelligence embedded in their processes. I'm not really sure that's true, but at least there's a focus of it. So 90% of the companies said, well, artificial intelligence will be part of our processes, at least at customer processes, in about 3 years. But there is an issue there. And let me explain the issue with an example. I'm a little bit worried on a couple of things. And the first one is that in every technology or every emerging technology or every digital transformation whatsoever, I miss the customer. And let me explain. I'm not quite sure if you know it already, but let me explain this one. Yes, at the moment, we can go to the grocery store here in the Netherlands, grab your mobile phone, go in and scan information of products or scan information around ingredients even. Sometimes you can even pay with it. Great stuff. To be honest, for me, that's just digitizing the current processes. Digitizing the current process is not digital transformation. This is a Tesco in South Korea. What you see here is a metro station, subway station. What they said is, all right, if somebody has an hour spare, right? So they're free, home early from work, 1 hour. Do you want to go to a grocery store? No, you don't. So let's bring our stuff to them. So what you see here is in the subway, but also bus and train station, you see kind of a poster with chips behind it, and you can just grab your phone, go over it, and you say, well, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy, I want to buy. Just pay, and based on your GPS, they will deliver to your home address when you're home, instead of that you have to be home when they come. So for me, this is the extreme example of focusing from a customer angle. And let me explain on the next slide how we see that. What you see here on the next slide. Thanks. What you see here is that 90% of the companies really have that digital customer experience strategy. So yes, those are the 90%, I guess, also that say that in 3 years we are artificial intelligence in our customer processes. But so yes, we focus on the customer. So yes, we have digital strategy in place. Yes, we will be there. If you click on the next one, what you see there is that only 25% of those companies have mapped the customer journey. That's interesting, right? So yes, we have a digital customer experience strategy, but in 25% of the cases, you really understand what the customer wants. You understand their customer journey. You understand their frustrations and emotions. Without the customer journey, you're just not able to deliver a real digital strategy or digital initiatives. And also, and you click further on, only 14% has the skills and technology to deliver the strategy. That's the next click, please. So 14% is the number that we have from the first poll. So if the question is, are companies able to adapt quickly to changes? Are they able to react on the changes in the organization, in the environment, and really follow the customers? It's only 14% that really can do that. 14% that have the customer, map the customer journey, and have the technology and the skills internally to change their organization. Only 14%, 1/4. I see some basic issues there. I mean, apart from the Forrester examples I just gave, that it's a lot of internal oriented stuff. The other two elements that I see is their technology is inflexible. So what you want to have is an environment where you say, all right, there's something new out there. Let's try it. Let's test it. I want to get a feeling and the notes of it, and just do it in about 8 weeks. Normally, the first kind of budget asked to finance, or the first session with IT will take 8 weeks. So you will need speed in your organization and agility in your organization to make sure that there is something new. There's a new emerging technology. You want to try, test, and learn from it. You have to be able to adapt quickly. So you have to be able to grab those 6 trends, just put in your organization in no time. And that's not the case at the moment. The other element that really is an issue is, again, the ineffective gathering of data. It's fragmented. It's all over the place. And you're just not able to embrace those emerging technologies and to be ready for CX in 2018 and 19 if the data is all over the place. All right, next poll question. If we talk about digital transformation and we talk about CX and how you see that kind of in your organization, and you take into account the 6 trends and you take into account the issues and the challenges. My question to you is digital transformation a top-down approach, or is it bottom-up? What do you think? Okay. Last votes. Interesting. Let me well, I think differently, and let me explain. If you take the angle of Forrester, and you will see that some of the big challenges of really delivering a CX strategy in your organization, and they say the top 3 challenges, again, organizational culture, process more internally, and the organizational structures. We have to have the help of the CEO. And at the moment, a lot of companies, and excuse me for being a little bit rude here, the CEOs are just sitting at the sideline. They're focusing on more finance-driven elements than really being a customer experience hero. Now let me explain with an example of ING. Take Ralph Hamers. everywhere where he is, apart from talking about bonuses, he's the driver of customer experience in his organization. Everywhere that he talks, he's talking about digital innovations and the love of his customers, more basically. So what I miss in a lot of organizations, and what I want, let me put it more positively, what I want is to get CEOs to get on board and to really lead the change and to lead and inspire and make sure digital customer experience is part of their boardroom discussions. At the moment, I don't think it is. And what they need to do, and that's why I think it's a top-down approach, I see a lot of great stuff bottom-up. So I see all kinds of interesting initiatives and ideas from marketing normally, but also from sales and service organizations. But they are not really organized at the moment. It's hard for those different departments to make the link to another department. And I think from a top-down approach, you can link it to a strategy. You can link it to the future view of a company and to link it to what the CEO sees. So he can kind of brings order in the chaos of initiatives and really provide kind of a basis of or prioritizing more or less. So yes, I think it's a top-down approach that makes it successful or not. Cool. Let me end it with some help and some guidance. I talked a lot about the different emerging technologies and about fragmenting data, and maybe CEOs, they're not really on board, or people that are kind of having great ideas but not really able to execute them. And I also think that if we, let me start differently. What I see a lot of times is that digital customer experience or digital transformation is kind of leads to building an app or a new portal that's really not focused to what a customer wants. It's really not linked to a vision of the company. It's kind of sitting in isolation. And we know all about a lot of examples there. So what I've kind of built here is the 6 kind of building blocks for a digital enterprise. And you can click them all 6 if you want. First one that I think is really important. So yes, you need to have a vision and a strategy for innovation. And it seems obvious, right? I mean, it's kind of stating the obvious here. But really, the link with CEO or the boardroom to have a clear vision on the future, what's happening out there, what are we going to do, what is our kind of new business model, and make sure you kind of communicate that internally and externally. So yes, you need that vision and strategy, and make sure that every initiative is part of that, or linked at least to that vision. And every initiative should focus on the process automation, process improvement, making things more easy to do business with your organization. So the process automation is basically the one that you focus on if you have great stuff. However, it has to be linked to the customer journey. So get really a customer-focused organization, to be a customer-focused organization, sorry. So take that example of Tesco. It's not enough to digitize your current processes. You really want to change the way you do business and really have the customer first approach. So yes, your vision combined with the customer obsessiveness, that's a strange word, to be customer obsessed, sorry, and to link that to automation of different processes. And yes, you do that with data. So the data and the analytics part, and to make sure you go deep in really understanding the customer, the why of behavior, and to do extreme analytics. That's a part of it. And the thing is there, you only can succeed if you have the culture and the people and the organization in place. And again, a lot of organizations or industries are kind of lacking here. So great ideas, customer obsessed, but employees are or not empowered or not really capable of doing the customer centricity approach. Technology is part of it. So yes, I mean, you need that platform approach. You need to combine. You need to make sure that data, departments, applications are all connected. That if you are in the customer journey as a customer, you can just change your touch points to continue your journey. So yes, it's all about combining and having a platform approach. But again, my point here is those 6 elements should be taken into account. not 3, not 4, all 6 should be taken into account. And then, if you can click the rest, please, the basis is becoming responsive to change. So for me, digital transformation from a customer experience point of view is not, I want to get from A to B. There is no B. I mean, B is gone. You have to make sure that every day there can be a new way of thinking. For example, just a strange thing. Everybody now is on Facebook. Every organization understands what we can do. I don't know what's happening. I mean, tomorrow there is a let's quit Facebook action from a Dutch guy on television. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I'm sure if there will be something else, you have to be quick, you have to be fast. So for me is, make sure with the 6 building blocks, make your organization responsive to change instead of try to come up with a new app and see it as from A to B. All right, I want to give you kind of 6 takeaways. And the thing is, you can click on this, please. So yes, change your perspective. And if you think you're customer obsessed, think again. Change your perspective. So again, from the Subway example from Tesco, it's not only being customer obsessed, but also link your business model to it. The other one is make sure with emerging technologies, you have your sponsor on the board. They have to embrace the change. You have to lead and inspire people. At the moment, that's an issue. So get your sponsor, make sure the boardroom has a top-down approach and really believes and communicate that digital customer experience transformation. If you talk about architecture, it should be kind of always on, right? Always on, always connected, and make sure it's built like a platform. So again, that means that you have to combine data, you have to combine people, you have to make sure there is a single place where you can just deliver the best customer experience for customers. And again, they don't give a damn if they're interested interacting with marketing or sales. It's just the organization. So again, to make sure you can be able to extreme analytics and also to go to emotions, you have to make sure that your architecture is in a platform way of thinking. That one's very important. Work pilot to pilot. I see a lot of companies having a great ideas, fantastic, super, and it's just too much. Too many personas, too many problems, too many applications or data sources. Make it very, very, very small. But again, link it to that bigger transformation topic from the boardroom. So your vision and strategy. So work pilot to pilot. Make sure you learn. Make sure with every emerging technology, you will grab it, you will learn it, you will fail miserably, and then get up your feet again and continue. And do that with a, well, do that with multiple people in your organization. So multiple teams with different departments give you all the insights you want, right? So not only marketing. And I would specifically say that to the marketing people on the phone or in the call. Marketing is a core deliverable. Let me just say it differently, a little bit more harder, I guess. I think that marketing has all the information about the customer. They have great creative ideas, but they're lacking connecting that with other parts of the organization. So every time there's a digital transformation topic, emerging technology, great information, great stuff, it's kind of, not linked to the service, sales, commerce, or maybe even the other persons in the organization. So make sure they're on board and make sure you link it to the CEO. All right, the last thing, kind of tip I want to give you is my slogan of life, basically. Really linking to the emerging technologies to make sure you understand customer experience, you link it to other people, link data sources, touch point, and so on. It's a big umph. It's a big umph. But I mean, the difference between try and triumph is that try, right? So you have to make sure you have to try, you have to start quickly. It will give you an umph, but the triumph is even bigger. I think I'm actually on time here. So this is what I want to share with you. I hope you find it interesting. If you have any questions whatsoever, you can put it on the chat, I guess, if I'm not mistaken, Ronald. And always happy to answer some questions.
Yes, thanks, Mark. Thanks for sharing your insights. Really valuable, and always good to see that you have something new to present every time that I meet you. And I think in this case, these insights on CX are definitely maybe a different twist to what people are currently working on if they talk about customer experience and customer journeys. And this really takes it to the next level, and that's also what we should be aiming at. And at the same time, realizing that you have to make little steps. Think big, start small. So if people have questions, you can now submit them in the question box. Thing is that if I look at your 6 trends, there's
I'm not really hearing you anymore. Sorry.
challenge. Sorry?
I don't hear you anymore. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
So if you look at your 6 trends, what do you think is the top challenge in customer experience that companies should?
There is one that I think is really important, and it's kind of the combination of multiple, I guess. It's I call it hyper personalization, right? So the focus point around everything that's out there, if it's artificial intelligence, it's VR, it's the extreme analytics I already talked about, or being more emotionally connected. It's around hyper personalization, and I see the term more often. But the thing is, with hyper personalization, you have to kind of move away from the process standardization, if I call it like that, to more a experience personalization. So that means that we have to change internally a lot to really be hyper personalization, personalized. And what you see there is, I hear that a lot. I'm not capable of doing a one-to-one experience. You should. I mean, I don't believe in personas. I don't believe in segmenting people. I believe in really interacting with a person. And the technology is there, the data is there. I mean, you can do it. And is it with humans? Is it with chatbots? Is it with chatbots that look like human? I don't care. But it's about really make sure you're hyper personalized. And that term, every time I'm with a company, I kind of introduce that term again, but also explain how strongly I believe in really making that term really, really important. So for me, it's hyper personalization. That's kind of the big one.
Where do you think the human factor is in that? Because it's about leveraging data and technology and chatbots and that kind of things. So where's the human factor in it?
Yeah, good one. It's kind of a two-way street how I see it. I like I told already in my presentation is I don't believe in a digital only approach. And again, by saying that, I'm not talking about the simple transactions, right? So yes, digital only. But if you look at all the customer experiences or all the customer journeys and all the process in the organization, I believe in a dual approach. So the human factor is very, very important, but you have to understand from a customer journey point of view where to put them and where to place them. Is it when things are really difficult? Is that when there is a high value customer just want to have a one-to-one? I mean, it's really make sure you understand where in the customer journey for your specific processes where it makes sense. But let me explain a little bit further there. That's the other kind of from the other lane of a two-way street. For me, it's about translating, interpreting, and understanding what people need. And I think that for 4 or 5 years ago, a human element was necessary there. I think with machine learning, artificial intelligence, you can do a lookalike human touch, right? So if you look about chatbots and fired or fueled by customer with artificial intelligence, they can be a kind of a stand-in human, right? So that's also okay. However, again, you still need humans in specific elements of the customer experience. But one thing that I think is really important there is how companies can do it. So let me explain with a bank, with a finance, for example. Human touch is not the same as having a branch. You have to understand where human touch makes sense. So I'm a big believer of I saw it in New York, the pop-up bank in Starbucks, for example. So your human touch delivered in the way where customers really want to interact with you. They don't want to come to a branch, but they want to grab a coffee and there are you talking about the mortgage. So again, yes, not digital only, combine. Make sure you understand where you're going to have the best value of the human touch. Don't stop innovating on artificial intelligence to take over some of those human touches. Not take over, it's to improve the digital touches with a human touch. That's better. And then again, if you understand the customer journey, really make sure you're there where your customer is instead of having, well, asking them to come to your branch, for example. So the pop-up bank, again, example, is a really great example, I guess, from being human again, but where you have the most value of that human. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for these insights. We're coming close to the top of the hour, so I think it would be good that we're gonna wrap up. If you like this one, make sure that you also sign up for the other ones and make sure to attend them. Just put them in your agenda, in your diary. Every every Tuesday bi-weekly we'll be meeting at this point to go over the various topics. And this session is recorded and will become available afterwards as well. And do us a favor, share with your network if they might benefit from these insights as well. So if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me directly or to Mark, and we will make sure to get answers your way. For now, thank you all very much for attending. Thanks for collaborating in this session, and I hope to see you all soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.